All right, what we are talking about today is ndSync, not the boy band, but this is a tool in NetDocs that I usually end up comparing to something like Dropbox. So the ability to synchronize a location in NetDocs to a location on your computer. And this is a bi-directional synchronization, and we will go over using it today. Before we start, however, there are always three things that we do. We are going to go over some updates with NetDocs, some updates with Optables, events, and then we'll go over some NetDocs tips and tricks. So we're done with the PowerPoint. Now, 2025 web refreshes. So I don't know if there's really that much here. I think actually this is exactly the same since the last webinar. And this is supposed to go away. And we'll start with the 2026 update cycle soon. Pattern builder update notes. So that was April 7th. Um, all right. So this looks like bug fixes here. And then let's see if there's anything else. Oh, yeah. So let's just go over this again. ND Office 4.3.1. This is for Windows users. If you're using NetDocs and you have an issue when you're adding an attachment to Outlook and it not converting to a PDF, this 4.3.1 fixes the issue. And basically, if you don't have that issue, you might have it because it's a Microsoft version update causes the issue to happen. So NetDocs is always playing catch up to changes Microsoft, Google, Edge, Firefox. Those when those products change, NetDocs has to change with them. So a new version of Microsoft Office caused an issue where a PDF, Word document, an Excel document couldn't convert properly to a PDF, and this fixes the issue. Um, NetDocs tips. So let's go over any new blog post we have. Did a great one from a office hours I did for a law firm yesterday. Just really explaining NetDocs security and what VESA means and how it works. Can't believe I didn't have that before. That's pretty good in detail. Um, I'm getting a lot of check-in issue tickets. So I've gone through and rewritten the check-in issue. If your documents aren't checking in, actually probably need to explain a little more of what it looks like when NetDocs isn't working properly. And then I've got, it says steps, but these are really different fixes to get the issue fixed here. And then we did the AI assistant training, I think, last week, and this is explaining how to use team prompts in the AI assistant if you're using that. So that's what's new on our blog, and there'll be more stuff coming out there. Also, I want to point out on the blog is that there might be like 3 or 4 new articles a week, but I actually go through and update every article. And there's an issue with the blog. It'll say this was updated in 2019. I'm like, I just updated that 2 days ago. So I'm trying to keep the content just all up to date, even if it's not a new post. We're doing the webinar on ndSync today. End of the month, we will be doing office hours. May, we got a task training in office hours. June, chat link, advanced training. July, collab space training and office hours. And then August, we have admin training and office hours. So that's new with us, but let's jump into our webinar today, which is ndSync. Now, let's point out a couple of things first. Let me just turn this on so we can get my pointer here. All right. What is ndSync? ndSync is a program that you install on a Windows computer or a Mac. So you can see ndSync installed right here. What it allows me to do, let's just show it in use first, and then we'll go into more detail here. I have this matter in NetDocs, okay? I'm about to go to my cabin in the woods without internet. Although I guess it kind of defeats the purpose of why would you have a cabin in the woods if you still wanted to work without internet, you still wanted to work. But I want to work. I'm about to get on an airplane that may or may not have Wi-Fi that functions correctly. I'm going to a courthouse, I'm going to a client's office, or I need to give this matter to someone who is not in NetDocs. That's another good use case for this. Once I've installed ndSync on my computer, I could come over to this matter and I'm going to choose Sync Workspace. Now, when you do that, it tells you you need to download ndSync. I've already downloaded it, so I am just going to hit OK. Now it's going to tell me this is a large number of documents. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now this is syncing. Now I can tell over here when I log into this workspace, I will see the sync sign indicating that I've synchronized this locally. Now it's not automatically going to sync. I think it's every 15 minutes it updates. However, I can force it. So I'm going to come over to the ndSync program and I am going to choose sync now. So by doing this, ndSync is looking at NetDocs, it's looking at changes locally on the computer, and it's going to bi-directionally synchronize them so that everything in NetDocs gets updated and everything on my computer gets updated. Let's look at what that actually means. So if I come over to my computer, we just synchronize. What was this matter here? Yeah, massive dynamic here. So this has been synchronized locally onto my computer in this area right here. So we have ndSync. It will create a picture of the cabinet. Icons look exactly. And here are the two matters I have synchronized. If we compare it here to what I have, it looks pretty good. It is never going to synchronize save searches, but it's synchronizing every filter, every folder. Okay. And it actually even synchronizes collab spaces, which is maybe another good use. So if I open up agreements here, as soon as it's done synchronizing, the 67 agreements that are in this agreements filter will show up here. It just, if we go into correspondence, so there's 160 items in correspondence, and they are starting to synchronize down right here onto my computer. So we've got 48 items so far. It will just keep working on synchronizing them. And again, we can come over here and see that ndSync is operating here and it's copying documents down. So ndSync is synchronizing everything down. Now, one of the things I want to point out here is what I did is I synchronized this entire matter. I don't necessarily need to do that. So if we come over here to massive dynamic, let's go into a different matter. We'll go into Skynet acquisition. All right. And I have this folder called challenge 3. I'm going to come over here and choose sync folder. I'm not synchronizing the matter. I am only synchronizing this folder. And now I'm going to hit OK, and this will synchronize down. Same thing with a filter. So if we come over to here, let's come and choose a different matter. So let's go to pension lawsuit. Thank goodness I have some documents in here. We'll open up agreements, and I am going to choose sync filter. So in this instance, I'm only syncing this filter and nothing else. So this is showing you ndSync in work. There is a copy of ndSync for a Windows computer. There is a copy of an ndSync for a Mac. Now that you've seen it, let's go over some of the admin functions. I know there's questions coming in the chat, and I'm going to get to those. But let's first come over to admin, and let's talk about a couple of things. We're going to come over to ndSync and mobile management over here on the left-hand side. For ndSync to work, you have to own it, okay? If you don't own it, do not allow ndSync will automatically be checked, and you will not be able to choose allow ndSync. If you've purchased ndSync, then you will be able to change it to allow ndSync. That's one thing I want to point out. Second one here is when a user account is removed from this repository, especially if you have ndSync, you want to make sure we have the second option checked. So what we're saying here is when we remove someone from NetDocs, go in and if they have anything synchronized locally on their computer via ndSync, automatically remove it. All right, so that is something very important to do. And then right here, you're seeing the different computers that have ndSync, what version of ndSync they're running, who's the user, and you can stop the synchronization or remove it. In these two instances here, these would be if someone has not left the office, but maybe you think their computer's compromised. So you're like, oh gosh, Craig lost his laptop in an Uber and there's no password on it. That's a problem of itself, but you don't want to disable Craig's account, but you want to wipe all the data off of this computer. And we're only talking about NetDocs data. We are not allowed to wipe other data. So first things first, if you want to use ndSync, allow ndSync has to be turned on. If you turn it on, change this option to right here, and then people will be able to use it. Now, second thing I want to point out here, information and settings, we're going to come over to the download threshold, which I've already hit. Okay, I'm going to go see here. Let's check my phone real quick, and I'm sure. Have I gotten the message up? Yep, there they are. So on my Outlook now, it's telling me, because I've downloaded more than 200 items within an hour, I'm hitting the items are downloading onto my computer, so I'm hitting the download threshold, so NetDocs is emailing me. So if you have users using ndSync, then when they start using it, okay, it's going to hit the download threshold. The activity threshold or download threshold is to let NetDocs admins know when documents are flowing out of NetDocs. And that's what's happening right here. So it is telling us that. So you have to own ndSync. Most people own it now. If you buy NetDocs now, you just get it. So if you have some older accounts, you may not have it. It can be installed on a Windows or Mac. And you can synchronize a workspace. You can synchronize a folder. I have a folder-based cabinet that I've synchronized. So if we come over here, we have a NetDocs cabinet here, and I've gone in and synchronized most of the folders. So if we come over here, here are the folders synchronized right here. So I can go in there, and I haven't synchronized everyone. So I've got conversions, and I've got 8 here, webinars and newsletters, and I've got some information here synchronized as well. Workspaces, filters, or folders. Let's take a break and hit some questions before we go on. Is ndSync included in all licenses, or is it an extra feature like the AI? I am going to tell you how it always works with NetDocs. And I've been installing NetDocs since 2010. NetDocs will release a new product like NDMail. NDMail was a new product, and it was an add-on, and then eventually NetDocs includes it in all of the packages. So I feel like if you've purchased NetDocs in the last couple of years, maybe the last 2, you automatically have ndSync. And if you've purchased it before that time, you may or may not have it. If you upgrade your package, you'll get it. It's fairly common now. And if you didn't have it, it wouldn't be like the AI assistant. It's not super expensive. Can you point it to another location? Let's answer it that way. Can you point ndSync to another location? Absolutely not. Okay. And I'm going to go with this point too. ndSync is not a tool for you to export or synchronize your entire NetDocs, and we'll go over that in a second, to your computer. It is to choose a finite amount of things that you need to work on offline on your computer. So right here, ndSync is synchronized onto my computer to this location. So it's C colon, your name, app data, roaming. Well, that's not it at all. Why is it? Let's see here. This would be better. Yeah. C colon, it's the user. Then there's a folder called ndSync. And then here's the cabinet. You have no ability to change that at all. There's no way to say, hey, put all this on a USB drive. No, it has to be installed on the Windows or Mac. There is no way of changing where you install it. So no, this is not, ndSync doesn't work with an iPad. However, the NetDocs app on an iPad allows you to synchronize stuff locally on the iPad. But on an iPad, you are using the NetDocs app. Now, for those of you that have ndSync, what I'm going to do here is come over and I'm going to copy this link, which is a link to our ndSync guide, which is right here. This is our guide about using ndSync. So we will update this with a new, because the last ndSync training webinar I did was probably like 5 years ago. So we'll update that. There's also a guide of using ndSync for external users, which we'll talk about a little bit. And then this goes over some of the features. Again, ndSync is two-way. So if someone changes something locally on the computer, it also gets synchronized up to NetDocs. If someone changes something in NetDocs, it gets synchronized down to the computer. And this just goes over why we use it. It goes over how to install ndSync, and then it goes over what our options are, because there are some options that we are going to get locally on the computer as well. And again, we can synchronize workspaces, folders, filters, and collab spaces. We cannot synchronize save searches, and we cannot synchronize an entire cabinet, but this goes over there. Now, let's jump over onto, let's come back over to clients demo, massive dynamic. Let's open up agreements. Again, there's a zip file there. I mean, it will preserve the structure. Let's right click, and on your Mac or on your Windows computer, you're going to add this little icon right here. Okay, go to doc in folder online. So if we click on this, it should bring us directly to that document and wherever it is online. Like I just opened this up, this is where the document is in the filter or folder it's located into. So again, this is annoying. Show more options, ndSync here, get link. Okay, so we have a link to this document now. All right, and this is email link. This is an internal link to the document. These are options that we have on a Windows computer or on a Mac. So on a Mac, it's looking in Finder. On a Windows computer, it's looking in Explorer. Open document from server. Really should say open document from NetDocs. This will actually, instead of opening it up from here, it'll go into NetDocs and open up the document. Sync now will synchronize just this one document. So maybe you made changes and you don't want to wait the 15 minutes for it to synchronize up to NetDocs, or someone's made some changes in NetDocs. You don't want to wait the 15 minutes for it to synchronize down. This is just to sync the one document. If we come over here, we definitely have a sync now, which will synchronize everything. And then let's come over here to All right, check out. This will check out the document onto your computer and open it up. Create new version. This will version the document and open it up on your computer. And NetDocs had to be clever about this because, Windows Explorer doesn't have the concept of versioning, right? NetDocs does. So this allows you to create the version, rename the document, and it's important you do it this way. You can't just rename the document and expect it to go back up to the same document in NetDocs. So they built this tool in here to actually rename it to keep the sync in place and then delete. So if you want to delete something, you've got to click delete here. And this is where I've found people, if you hit delete here, oops, if we come over here, we delete this document, and then we hit synchronize, it's going to come back. And it actually tells you local deletions are not permitted. Okay. If you want to delete something, you have to come over here and come over here and hit delete. And that's the proper way of deleting it. It will delete it on this document, and it will delete it in NetDocs as well, if you go that route. Now, and I don't see any questions, so let's come over to the web, and let's see here. Let's come over here, and I'm going to copy this and throw this location into the chat as well. These are all our articles on ndSync, and they have all been updated. Okay, let's go to the first one here. And this is like the FAQs, but we haven't built an FAQ page. But if we did, it would be this page here. And I probably need to build an FAQ page. Windows has a 260 character limit. NetDocs doesn't have the limit. A NetDocs file name can be 1,000 characters, way more than 260. Folders names can be 1,000 characters. Workspace names, I think, can be 1,000 characters. That could be 3,000 right there, and you could have subfolders. So the issue we have sometimes when setting up ndSync is that certain files cannot be synchronized locally on a computer because Windows will not allow it. And I will tell you, primarily, those are emails, because when NetDocs saves an email, it takes the subject and makes it the email name. Email subjects can be pretty long. If you go and change this registry key, I don't recommend you doing this. Your IT people should be doing this. But if you enable long file paths here, then NetDocs can synchronize larger items. Okay, but you have to enable it. You have to make your Windows computer allowed to have longer file paths. Honestly, I don't know how long they can be. There's still a limit, but it's longer than the 260 character limit. So this will help you get around any character issues. Conflicts, okay? So the problem with ndSync, and let's go with this scenario. I'm flying to Los Angeles. I am going to work on a document on the airplane. I have no Wi-Fi. Milika in my office is also working on that document in her NetDocs. I land at LAX, get to my hotel, turn on the internet. ndSync is now going to synchronize my changes to NetDocs. Well, now there's a conflict because Milika changed the document and I changed the document. What happens? So it tells you right here, another user has updated this document. Your changes were saved as a new unofficial version. Okay, so that means that if you go in and we look at the document here, of course I chose a document with no versions. Let's come over to general docket. That'll have some here. All right, I look at a document here. I'm going to see a document like right here listed as an unofficial version. Okay, so we'll have the Milika's version here, my version here. Now, what do? I don't know. Maybe I would select both. Maybe I go into Word because it's a Word document, see what was different, and then I would create a version 5 that has both of our changes. It's up to you. It is not overriding any data. but it is going in there and it's preserving everything. Okay. And then you have to figure out what to do with it. All right. How to export documents. So I have this 4-page article explaining how to get documents out of NetDocs. And I feel like ndSync is a great one, especially, hey, I need to get a file to someone. This isn't maybe if you have 500 files or matters you need to get to someone, but you have one or a couple, you can use ndSync to get the documents out. So pros, easy to set up. It preserves the workspace structure. So you've seen that. So you're seeing the client, you're seeing the filter and the folder. If a document is in a folder and a filter, it's copied out twice. Okay. It supports syncing multiple matters at a time. Collab spaces are included in the sync. So those are all good. What's bad? You have to own it. So if you don't have ndSync, something you would have to purchase as an add-on, but like I said, most people probably have it now. It is only syncing the official version. It is not syncing any. So you have a document with 7 versions, you only have one document on your computer. So you're not getting prior versions. There could be Windows file path length issues, but we talk about how to fix it. And you get no metadata. So I'm not getting author, typist, comments, or any of that information. So those are the trade-offs there, but it's really, really easy to use. And then let's come over here to, okay, there's an article, how to install ndSync on a Windows computer, how to install ndSync on a Mac. Those are straightforward, right? I mean, again, you just follow the instructions there. ndSync policies for your firm. This is, we went over there about managing the mobile device management, how to manage, remove stuff if we need to. That's something that we covered, so that's already there. How to use NetDocs as an external user. All right, why did I create this account? So NetDocs has this concept of an external user, which is not an internal user. Collab spaces or an external user. You know, those people can use ndSync. So, I mean, some of the frustration is, hey, I don't want to, this person doesn't know how to use collab spaces. They're having a hard time getting to collab spaces. Well, if you set up in a collab space or an external user for a person and set up an area, and if your firm has ndSync, you could tell that person, hey, download ndSync and then log in, and then you can synchronize that collab space locally to the computer. And then you're just working off the File Explorer or the Mac Finder. So that's an advantage of using this product, is that it allows you to use NetDocs without actually being in NetDocs. Those are the web page stuff. Let's jump in to look at the options on our computer. So if we come over to here, let's click on ndSync. Now it's telling you how much storage is saved on your computer. All right. That you have the sync now. It's showing you everything installed. It's telling you if there was, this is an X because we deleted this. So this is just an activity list of what's going on. This right here will jump into the Windows ndSync folder or in your Mac or Finder folder. And then let's come over to the options. Pause syncing recent documents. So if we click here, it's just showing us our recent documents. Home page contents. So it's showing you everything synchronized that also exists on your home page. Let's come over here to settings. Okay, so it's telling us, you know, Wayne Jarvis, now change service account. Well, if I was using the Canadian data center, the US government, Germany, Australia, preview, or the EU, I could change the data center. So if you're in Canada and you install ndSync, you might need to change this to Canada for it to work. I would not worry about any of these proxy settings. I've never had to deal with them. Prompt me for automatic updates. I mean, I guess that's fine. That's not how I work. Okay. I never let people update the software. You have to go to the NetDocs download page, and let's just jump to that right now. And that's where I would get the new versions because this isn't something that I would just want a regular person doing. So NetDocs downloads, and you're going to see here's ndSync 2.5 for Windows. Here is ndSync 2.6 for Mac. So that's where you would download those for Windows and Mac. Again, I Googled NetDocs downloads. Let's come back over here to ndSync. We'll go to settings here. Let's talk, what is circuit breaker? Okay. So interesting name, but what this is basically it's preventing the CryptoLocker virus or malware from getting into your NetDocs. So what happens is it's impossible to get the CryptoLocker virus or to get all your documents encrypted in NetDocs. NetDocs is not a Windows server. Okay, it's its own service here. But when you're using ndSync, you have items on your computer that are on a Windows computer. So the issue there is what happens if you on your own computer get the CryptoLocker virus and it starts encrypting all your files. Well, then NetDocs sees those as changes and it uploads the encrypted document as a new document to the file. The circuit breaker stops that from happening. Basically, what this is if it sees all these mass changes at once happening, stop the synchronization. And then the other thing there is the ability to roll back a document in NetDocs. So if a document did get encrypted, we would just roll it back to the previous version. But just leave circuit breaker checked. It's what's checked by default. And then this will stop any sort of mass encryption from happening. We would always be able to roll the documents back, but we don't want to have to roll back a ton of documents. So this will stop when it detects a whole bunch of mass changes from a CryptoLocker virus happening. It stops all those changes from being sent to NetDocs. Let's look here at select items to synchronize. So this is another way of synchronizing items here is select items to synchronize. Now it's going to show you your cabinets and it is going to show you recent and favorite workspaces. So then I could just check the box here and now we are synchronizing this document. We'll just hit OK, this matter here. We'll hit OK. So you can set the synchronization from the app itself, ndSync. It is only showing you favorite and recent documents. You can also go into any matter and choose sync, or in this case, I could now choose unsync. This will unsync everything. They say it take about 60 minutes for it to appear, but now it's going to remove everything from my computer, and that ndSync icon went away. So it is no longer there. This explains everything I know right now about ndSync. Does anyone have any specific questions that they want to go over? Comments, anything else like that? If you want to ask it out loud, raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Or use the chat or the Q&A to ask questions. All right. I mean, ndSync is pretty straightforward. The one thing I tell people is that you're not synchronizing your entire NetDocs repository. There's no sync all option. So you synchronize matter by matter, file by file. And the one thing that you have to realize is your laptop or desktop probably doesn't have the storage capability to sync everything down. So you have to, be a little specific about what you're choosing. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone's time today. Hope you all have a great rest of the week. The ndSync manual is sitting in the chat along with basically our NDSync topics. Tomorrow or the next day, we will email this video out, and then I'll have an updated video. Does NDSync happen automatically for recent documents? Joe, okay. No. NDSync does not happen automatically for recent documents. So, but let's bring up something. So now the webinar is not ending. Everyone thank Joe for that. So let's go over and talk about a couple things here. One, if we come over here to ND Office, now this is not Mac, this is Windows only, and we come to View Echo Folder. All right, anything that I have worked on in the last 14 days is sitting in an Echo folder on my computer. Okay. This is not NDSync. This is just regular NetDocs working. That's how Optimal sets up NetDocs for. If I can come over to ND Office, and if I come over here to settings, you see here Echo retention is 14 days. This is standard here. So any document you've worked on in the last 14 days is set up on your computer. Okay. That's one. All right. Now there is another thing, and I've forgotten about it, but let me come back into it and see. So let me just do this. Here is, I haven't looked at this in years, but let's just do before rollout, US. This is our NetDocs workstation install tool. Great. Let me run this again. Actually, that's me a problem here. Or maybe I could just do this. No. So there is, what am I fumbling around here trying to find? There is a way to set up ND Office to synchronize your favorite documents. I haven't thought about this in years. I don't know why. There's too much NetDoc stuff, and I forget now. Let me try to run this again. Workstation install setup. US. Before rollout, we hit next. Yes. Okay. Let users synchronize favorite items to their computer. I'm going to hit yes. So now I've modified this. All right, this is a great blog post article. Now let me kill, because I know that what this is happening here, even if you don't have NDSync, is if you have this, and let's say there's a NetDocs outage and you've favorited all your favorite stuff, you should have that locally on your computer. So I've just made the registry change. And this would be a great article about like disaster recovery and NetDocs. Okay, so now we're going to open up ND Office. Okay, and then notice here, there is this gear here. And this is synchronizing anything that is a favorite locally on my computer. Okay, but this is not NDSync. But this is man, Joe, I'm really glad you asked this question. So, and I forget why I just forget about this because I don't have it turned on my computer. But this will synchronize all of my favorite documents or my recent documents. So let's see. Let's see if we put our mouse over here. What is this? All synced items. So this is synchronizing your recent documents locally on your computer. So this will keep a synchronization of recent documents on your computer. Okay, so that answers your question, but NDSync does not synchronize recent documents, but you can configure ND Office to keep all your recent documents synchronized on your computer, I will write a blog post about it because now I'm just making stuff up. NetDocs released that feature. I never really touched it for a while, but I built our tool in there. So let me write an article explaining how that works and where all those items are. I mean, you get those items from right here. So once it's synchronized, now I can click here and just open it up. I mean, I think it should be storing it in the Echo folder, but I'm not really sure. Oh, it's probably in the cache here. Yeah, so it's going to put all the recent items in cache. And I need to find out what does recent actually mean before I say last 40. Let me find out what it really means. On the Mac, is there equivalent to the Echo folder where it drops items? There is, and I don't remember where it is, and you kind of just have to search around on the Mac to find out where those items are. Now, so basically, when you're on a Mac and you open up a document, the document downloads to your computer. Then when you close it, the document goes back into NetDocs. But I don't think that it keeps it in there for any time. It's only down there when you open it up. So there on the Mac, there's no way of doing echoing, like keeping something for 14 days. So the one thing here, and I would say it's good, is that even if you don't have ndSync, and this might be something good that we turn on, right? So all our recent items, let me find out how this actually works. Will stay synchronized in case there's a NetDocs outage. This would be a good way to deal with that too. All right. Any other questions that do or do not get me on a 10-minute tangent? But I think I'm going to create a good blog post on, hey, here's how if you have a NetDocs or internet outage, here are things that you could do to help protect you. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope everyone has a great day.